And now, Deborah Kobylt Live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for Deborah Kobylt Live. Do you sometimes get cranky? I don't really think I do, but I decided to interview our next guest and author, Stephen Joseph, uh, a grown-up guide to effective crankiness, the Crankasaurus Method. I think this is a hilarious, hilarious title, I have to tell you. Now, can I tell you something, Stephen? First of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was very excited to have you. Look, I saw the title, right? And I thought, oh, I got to read this. This is my husband. This is my husband. He's a cranky guy. In fact, I left it on the nightstand thinking he'd pick it up, and he looked at it and he goes, "Are you trying to tell me something?" I said, "Uh-huh." So I love your approach to being cranky. I love why you decided to write this. There was also a children's book that came right before this. I'll have you tell me that too. But there it is. Oh, wait, hold it up, hold it up. I love that. And what's the purpose? Why did you write that book? That's adorable. Why did you write that?
I wrote this book, and the story was I was in Rome with my wife, and she had a cranky moment. Actually, it was a very cranky moment because we're jet lagged. We flew to Europe, and we're in this Airbnb type place. It's summer. Electricity also goes out in this hot apartment, and right at the time she was coloring her hair, and this black dye, like a Giuliani thing, goes into her eye, and it's dark, and she was like really cranky. So I finally
Hey,
said,
hang on. That would make anybody cranky. If that were me and I was on vacation somewhere in Europe, the hair dye is going down my face as in a Giuliani moment. Come on, that would do it to anybody. Oh my God. So what did you do?
So I tried to console her, and finally I said that she was a Crankasaurus, and she's like 100 pounds. She could throw her across the room. And I said, that's probably how old a dinosaur, and saurus is the Yiddish word for problems, we have saurus. And I said, you're a Crankasaurus, and that's probably how old the dinosaurs died. There's this one tiny little dinosaur who kept cranking out her saurus till all the other dinosaurs dropped dead. And that got a laugh at her. And then about 6 months later, I wrote the story.
I think that is so clever. I love that. I mean, that's resonating with me, right? Like, even if you want to be in a bad mood, I was in an awful mood yesterday. If you want to know the truth, I could have used the kids' book, the Crankasaurus. In fact, I didn't even think to open this up. Like, Crankasaurus, for whatever reason, you've got all kinds of reasons in here. We'll get through that too. But it's a fun way to deal with sort of a mood at the time. But it's a lot deeper than that, right? It talks about what might be affecting us, and it sort of helps us to look at that as well, but in a very, very fun way, so we don't feel threatened, right?
Yes. So the thing about it, I'm an attorney, so I'm writing this almost like a lawyer, but also a comedian who was married to a therapist for 20 years and then got remarried to another therapist for 10 years. So 30 years with therapists, 35 years as a lawyer, and just being just a general comedian. So I put the three together. And in my first marriage, my wife had me read about every self-help book around. And the thing about the self-help books, I can't stand the self-help books because it seems like they have one good idea and they just beat it to death over and over again. It's like, okay, I'm reading the same thing. And my book tries to go into different things. It's very, very different about dealing with crankiness and different kinds of crankiness and what could help. So I go from everything to making potato pancakes to how I lost 85 pounds to I have a can of bees in my head or whatever. So there's different kinds of things, and I tell stories and have people use the stories as anchors and crack up at the same time when they're reading it. So that's my approach.
Yeah, it's great. What were you like as a kid? I know that your parents, your mom, right, was a Holocaust survivor, correct?
Holocaust survivor. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's tough
I was
because, yeah.
I was like the good kid, and I mean I actually tried to manage my parents' crankiness. So my brother would always fight with my father, and years later, my father said, you know, you were very smart. You always said yes, dad, yes, dad, yes, dad, and then you did whatever you wanted. And your brother would fight with me all the time, and he always did whatever I wanted. So like that's how I managed my father's crankiness back then.
Very
But I didn't
clever.
know like I was
No,
doing it. Yes.
no wonder why you became an attorney. Very clever, right? You sort of knew how to wiggle your way out of this. It was very smart of you. So you weren't a cranky kid. Were you a cranky adult?
I was a cranky kid, and I'm a cranky adult. Yes, I get cranky. I'm a lawyer, and I manage other lawyers, and every day I get cranky. Every
Really?
single day,
So like
it's
this,
just
the people you work with, do they hold this up and say, "Hey, you're in chapter 5 right now, Stephen. Like you got to read your own stuff." I mean, are they just, I'm just curious.
no. I don't get cranky with. They don't know about it. Well, they know about the book, but I've been working remotely, so they don't have the opportunity to bother me about that. But like one chapter, I have to remind myself all the time. It's drive me crazy, Crankasaurus. And that is where, and this happens to me a lot, when I get something and it drives me crazy when, and then I fill in the blank. And the next sentence, I cannot understand how, and then I fill in the blank. And I tell the story about 3 people are having the exact same experience, or having that kind of experience, but for different reasons. They're all interacting with each other. So like in one story, I tell 2 stories in that chapter, but one story is like, I'm at the restaurant and I'm not getting served. And it drives me crazy that I see everybody else getting served. That they got here after me and I'm not getting served. They're already finished with dinner. And I'm sitting here for 2 hours.
That's me. That's me. And I'm like, excuse me, if I wanted to like wait on my food, I would have stayed at home. Oh, you don't want to be with me at a restaurant when that happens.
And then I complain to the owner, and the owner has the same experience. It drives me crazy when the waiter, and then the waiter also has the same experience. It drives me crazy because the owner was the one pointing the waiter which direction to serve. So everybody was being driven crazy for different reasons at the exact same time. And it just reminds me that, yeah, I get driven crazy a lot, but I could take a deep breath and maybe I don't have to be so, I could still think about it, but I don't have to like have the steam coming out of my ears.
So what do you do with that moment to just bring it down a couple of notches? I could use this myself, please.
Well, what I call it, I talk about in my book, it's I give it a name. It's a Crankasaurus, you know, so I call it the common Crankasaurus. So you have a common cold, and we call it the common cold, because you have 2 or 3 a year, maybe. A common Crankasaurus, you get 2 or 3 in the morning. So by making it by normalizing and just saying, okay, I have it, I just almost like I have a mental box for it. It's like, okay, this happens. So if I get stuck in traffic, I get stuck in traffic. It happens. It's not like I can't believe it happens. It's a common Crankasaurus. And growing up as a kid, you know, you'd ask me growing up as a kid, like my father was one in particular that had the habit of anything in his head came straight to his mouth. You know, it's just like it just blurted out. Like there's no holding back. So if I have something in my head, like, yeah, I'm feeling cranky, I put it into my Crankasaurus box, and I could slow it down. It doesn't have, it's like a kind of a break. It doesn't have to go right out of my mouth where like all of a sudden it's going on somebody else. So I talk about in the beginning of the book where, like, you know, you walk into the house and your grandmother's house, and someone says, "Oh, they're like, Seymour, take off your shoes. Don't put the dirt on the carpet. I paid $30 for that rug. It's very expensive." And we take off our shoes because we don't want to put dirt on the carpet. We put dirt on each other. So without thinking. So it's like it's a reminder that we don't have to do it.
I love your reference. Seymour, take the shoes off. Clearly, that's a very back east reference. I grew up back east. I know exactly the kind of people that you're talking about, right? It's like, take off the shoes. You're going to get it dirty. I'm from there, and I get these people. I'm out here in LA, and like nobody would tell you. It's like, just come out of the house. Nobody has carpet out here anyway. Do you know what I mean? Just hearing you reference that, I get exactly where you grew up, how you grew up, sort of the type of people that you had to navigate around that can make anybody cranky. All right, couple of chapters. All right, we don't have to go through many of them, but a few that I like. Crankasaurus quarantine, Crankasaurus meditation. You can go through. You can talk about a couple of these, but I'm going to just point them out, and then you can talk to me about it. Can of worms, Crankasaurus. I love the Crankasaurus marathon because, as you said, you lost over 80 pounds. You're now a marathoner. Wow, that was the taking the cranky out of you too, right?
And that's in my chapter, Crankasaurus Diet, where I actually lost 85 pounds in 5 months. In December 2017, I hit 240 pounds. By June 88, I was 155. And I did not plan on it.
What'd you do?
Well, at the time I lost, my girlfriend dumped me. Then my car got stolen on New Year's Day. And then I got fired from my job. So I lost, so that was part of it. But actually, I was like, after law school, like I talked about, like I like cooking. And then instead of studying at night, I was cooking and then going out. And then all of a sudden I blew up to 240. And I was eating pastrami, chopped liver, triple-decker sandwiches every day at Fast Ernie's in Pittsburgh, and eating meatloaf. Just everything I was doing bad. And I just cut out like one thing after another. And I switched to pickled herring and gave up potato chips. So years later, I thought about that when I was the garbage can for my daughter, who was like 3 years old. Like, she's not eating the chicken nuggets. And I was like being the garbage can. I decided I wouldn't be the garbage can. Again, I lost like 20 pounds very quickly. And I noticed that I was changing my normals. I don't call it habits. I call it my normals, what I normally do. So I decided to go, no matter how tired I was going to go to the gym. And when I first went to the gym, this is December 87, they put me on a life cycle, level 1, 3 minutes, and I could barely finish that. And then by 1989, I was running a marathon. So, and then I just kept running after that. So it's just I changed my normals.
How many marathons have you done?
About 45. I started actually the marathon. I did 2 when I was 89, and I turned 40 in 2001. I ran New York in like 4:21, and then I was a mess, but I decided to keep running. And by the time I turned 50, I did 3:17 New York. So I'm running New York again this year. I'm 60 years old.
That is incredible. That is incredible. That'll take all the cranky out of you right then and there, because just training like that and all the endorphins that go through your head, that is just amazing. Why the dinosaur reference? Why the Crankasaurus? Like, why a dinosaur? Why not a bear or something?
Well, it's just because it came out of my mouth. You have saurus, like a Tyrannosaurus, and tyrant, like, there's the word tyrant, cranky, and saurus, I make it saurus. So it all fit together. And it's just, that's what came out of my mouth. It's like, there is a book called The Cranky Bear. It was just, the bear is cranky. It's out there, but I have the Crankasaurus. And she's a tiny little dinosaur kept cranking out its tours. And then there's the Crankasaurus that she just, and then millions of years later, humans evolved from these two dinosaurs. And so it's a part of our genetic code.
There's also, of course, a chapter, Drive Me Crazy, Crankasaurus. And let's talk about the 5-step approach to effective crankiness. Can you briefly list them? Like if you feel like you're really spinning out of control, you're cranky and you're just losing it, what do we do? And how do we like stop ourselves? Because when I'm in the middle of something like that, I'm so irritated and cranky. It's like, good luck. I'm like a locomotive train.
Well, the thing about the 5 steps, I mean, first of all, I give it a name. I call it a Crankasaurus. By giving it a name, in my blog, I have genius brain Crankasaurus. So like, and I make fun where like somebody says like you have athlete's foot. It doesn't sound so bad when you have athlete's foot. You feel pretty good. They're like, you're an athlete. Oh, that's good. So like instead of a tumor, say you have genius brain. So it's just they have a little fun with that. So Crankasaurus is giving it a fun name. Not that it changes anything, but I'm giving it a name. And then I make it a common Crankasaurus. It's not like you're personally afflicted with this rare disease. No, it's a common thing. Everybody has the Crankasaurus. It's just and then the third thing is just to have fun with it, have partnering with it, and then everybody knowing. Like I have the chapter Crankasaurus Doctor, where we become each other's doctor, our partners. We know how to diagnose and treat each other's Crankasaurus. So you have your moments. I know it when you're going to get like that, and I could give you space, or I let you give you. I hear you. So I teach negotiation. It's a lot about listening, hearing people. What my book talks about is mindfulness, empathy, and always employing skillful means, having that thought, what are the skillful means that I have? So I always think about that. So and it's good to practice your Crankasaurus. I talk about practicing in front of people. That like I have a Crankasaurus and I want, like I'm doing improvisation. And I know, oh yeah, it's like, listen, we're all going to listen to your Crankasaurus, and we're going to listen empathically. So you get to like spit out your crappy day, and everybody like, oh yeah, I understand. And then you can even take turns. And sometimes you need your private space. That's also important.
I like how you said that. I mean, some people, they just need their space. They need their boundaries. To be respected, and other people, they want to talk about it, right? What is making them cranky? I know that sometimes in our household, I'm the one who would like to talk it through, and then someone else might want to just need their space. That's a hard one. You know what I mean? So
yes,
yeah, you just have to know, you almost have to know like which kind of Crankasaurus are you, so that you can help yourself and help the people that you live with. I have to tell you, it is my husband's birthday this weekend. I left it on the nightstand for him. He kind of thumbed through it, but now I'm going to wrap it up and give it to him so that he can't sort of just look at it. I wanted to read this because it's actually brilliant. This is brilliant, Stephen. I love it. I get the humor in it. I get the visualization of it. Anything you want to tell our viewers and listeners before we let you go? Because there's a lot going on with you. I know that you are a comedian. You're a funny guy. You're an attorney. You lived a big life. You live a therapist. But anything you'd like to say before I let you go about your book?
Well, the book, it definitely will turn a frown upside down, but also check out my website, StephenJosephAuthor.com, because I have about 20 more. There's 41 chapters in this book, and every chapter has a different thing to it, and stories, and it cracks people up. And it just gets better. If you go into my blog, it gets better and better and better. And that eventually that's going to be the second guide to effective crankiness. But there's about like 20 different stories. And again, it's about empathy. It's again, having power, having a voice. And the stories give anchors and definitely will crack you up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stephen. Stephen Joseph, you're a fun guy. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I enjoyed reading your book. I saw myself, I saw my family in different chapters, which is kind of interesting because, as I said, it led me to thinking, this is maybe how I will handle that person because they handle their crankiness different than I do. And you're right, we all have it. Much as we might want to admit it, not want to admit it,
Embrace
we all
it.
have it. You'll
Embrace it.
embrace it. Have fun with your cranky. Anyway, thank you, Stephen Joseph. Thanks so much. Now we're going to have a couple of commercials. Oh, it's been great. We have a couple of commercials. One of them is Faherty, summer clothing line, actually all year round clothing line. But right now their summer clothing line is beautiful. So please take a listen to that. And then, of course, HarperCollins. Stephen Joseph, thank you very much for joining us. Please pick up Stephen's book, A Grown-Up Guide to Effective Crankiness. We all need it. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to Deborah Kobylt Live. Bye-bye. I love our latest collaboration, Faherty. I'm so obsessed with their products that over the weekend I purchased everything from hats, shorts, sundresses, and even a few shirts for my husband at their Malibu store close to where I live. At Faherty, summer is in their DNA, and everything from their blankets to shorts and tees are beautifully woven organic materials, and that's everything to me. Faherty is about family, and I was so excited to learn that the family who actually started Faherty were from Spring Lake, New Jersey, where I spent so many summers as a kid. And they care about what I care about: simple, top quality clothes for every day, for travel, casual evenings, just the way we live in our family. So please shop FahertyBrand.com and make sure to put in the code DEB20 for your special discount. And happy summer! I just read the most amazing book, and I'd love to recommend it to all of my viewers and listeners. It's called The Lost and Found Bookshop by New York Times bestseller Susan Wiggs, and it's available now on paperback at HarperCollins.com. It is perfect as a summer read by the pool, the beach, the lake, or if you're traveling by plane. So here's the premise. Natalie Harper inherits a financially strapped bookshop in San Francisco after her mother dies. She also becomes the caretaker to her grandfather, and it's books that become a welcome retreat for her grief and tough times. People magazine calls the book a feel-good family saga. I call it incredible. In fact, I felt for Natalie, and I wanted to know what else she found inside the pages of those books. The Lost and Found Bookshop is about life's ups and downs and how we get through them. Pick it up at HarperCollins.com, and remember, tell them Deborah Kobylt sent you. That's the Lost and Found Bookshop.